Welcome to Auto Off Topic. As always, Brad is here, and we've got two of our favorite guests tonight. Mercedes and Andy Lilienthal are joining us. What's up, guys?
Hey,
Hey,
how you
hey.
doing?
Thanks for having us.
How are you, Brad?
I'm excellent. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing
I
well.
apologize. I thought I was ready, but I'm setting my headset up here so you don't have feedback through my microphone. But that's okay.
That's
You
all
can go
right.
without
That's
me.
all right. We'll get back to you.
Give me a
It's a
second.
Monday. It's a
It's
Tuesday
been it's been a
Monday.
comedy
Yeah,
of
it's a
errors
Tuesday
this evening trying to get recorded, but it's all right.
It's all right. Where is he
It's fine.
going?
So I think the last time we had Andy on was we were talking about deregistering JDM cars,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Yep.
that may have even been last summer. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was because that I think I just got the Facebook memory that I posted up something about that, and yeah, that took on thankfully took on a life of its own, and still not fixed, but it'll be funny. I'll show up at an event with my Delica, and they're like, "Dad, did you hear that they're deregistering these?" I'm like, "Yeah, I wrote the stories." So yeah, it's just interesting. But I even won an award for best news article from the Motor Press Guild on best news article on that. So it's good to be recognized, but good to have that continue to be front and center. So
It's drawn a lot of interest. I know even when I was at Overland Expo West earlier this year, one of the media came in and we just were talking about our Delica that was featured in the Warren booth, our new one. And they said, "Oh my God, did you hear that they're deregistering them in Oregon?" And I just about fell off my chair because we live in Oregon and we've got 3 right-hand drives. And I, very quickly hopped on and this and this. And he's like, "Yeah, I read an article and I think it was for Gear Junkie." And we established it wasn't Oregon, thank God.
Went the wrong Portland.
Right, yeah,
probably
exactly. But he had skimmed the article and thought it was Oregon and not Maine, the state of Maine, and so he felt very badly because he almost gave me a coronary. But at least it's spurring interest, and hopefully something can be done about it.
right.
Yeah, we have another friend who's fighting it pretty hard out in Rhode Island, not specifically for Delicas, but for K cars. So it's
Yes.
definitely a pretty big thing. There's not just 2 of you. There's a good number, especially in Oregon. There's a ton of Delicas up there, so that would affect a lot of people heavily financially.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you can't register K cars here in Oregon. It's kind of been like that.
You
As
kind
far
of
as far as I have known, it's always been that way. They've never allowed you to register the little K vehicles, but it's not something where you read they let you register it and then they revoke your registration. Except that did just happen to a buddy of mine who was trying to get. He bought a Pajero Mini and
in
he
Oregon,
was
right?
yeah, and he and I've had a lot of discussion about this, and he was saying that well, what they really need is this one piece of emissions paperwork and so on and so forth. And sure enough, he got it registered. And then like the next week he got a thing saying that he had to take it off the road because it wasn't compliant. But the verbiage sounds like, I don't know why they would allow any vehicle that doesn't have federal motor vehicle safety standards, compliance register. But I don't know. I'm just going to shut up about it. So
They're letting you do it, so just don't kick the hornet's
Sounds
nest.
yeah,
sounds
exactly.
like another news
Exactly.
story, Andy.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd like to
And
keep
in other news,
like to keep this out of the news, but anyway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so it's been a while since you've been on Mercedes, but you've done like a lot of cool things. Do you want to give us like a few minutes on what you did at the last Rebel Rally with the EV? 'Cause
Right,
we
right.
didn't get to talk to you about that.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. So in October of 2021, I partnered with Volkswagen of America, and I was the first team. My awesome navigator, Emily Winslow, and myself were the first crossover all EV team to compete in the rally. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the Rebel Rally, it's all women. It's traditional navigation, and it's mostly all off road. So it's typically anywhere from 1,400 to 1,500 miles, not kilometers, miles off road over an 8-day, 7 days of actual competition, but 8-day period. And it happens usually in the Nevada and California desert. And you, about 1,500 miles later, end up in Glamis sand dunes, the famed sand dunes where the old school Star Wars was filmed. So if you guys remember the fighting scenes and all that type of stuff, that was filmed somewhere down in Glamis. Yeah, we were the first crossover, the all-wheel drive crossover that was an all EV to be able to compete. There was only one other full EV that competed. That was the Rivian, the R1T truck. And yeah, it was really neat. It I think Volkswagen of America, they really wanted to showcase the all-wheel drive ID4's capability. And that vehicle, the all-wheel drive variant, was just launched about 3 weeks before the rally. So the rear-wheel drive derivative that was customized with a roll cage and lift and all that type of stuff ran the Nora rally. And so that was a completely different animal. And that one was the legendary racer and rallier Tanner Faust was at the helm for that. Or at that. So this one is a lot more of a time, speed, distance type of a competition with map and compass, at or below posted speed limits on public roads or trails. So completely different rally than the go fast, go hard, go long type of Nora situation. So it was an honor to be a part of that. And my navigator, Emily Winslow, we did great. We finished the rally strong. We never needed any toes back because we ran out of range, although sometimes we thought we were maybe going to run out of range. And we had no mechanical issues. We threw a bunch of rocks, and I think the vehicle did great.
That's excellent. The Nora... Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Andrew.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
It's the Nora competing one. I think Tanner Faust, that was the blue one, correct? The blue color?
Yes, that was the dark blue one with the white ID4 livery on it.
Okay, that's cool. I got to see both vehicles, unfortunately not in competition, but at a show maybe 6 months ago. They had brought both of them out to an all-electric vehicle show. And they still were covered in the dirt. They were still covered in the dirt from your race, so they didn't clean them at all. But it was
I treated it as best as I could.
Yeah,
I've never seen the Nora.
Both of them were very. Yeah, they had them side by side. It was kind of cool.
Oh, I would have loved to have seen that. Yeah, I've only seen photos, and of course, I had a couple of awesome hours behind the wheel with Tanner Faust. The day before, we kind of kicked things off with the Rebel Rally. He was there with Team VW corporate, and he gave Emily and myself kind of driving tips and tricks as far as EV off-roading, because up until that point, Andy and myself just we piloted a PHEV, so plug-in hybrid, which was the 4xe Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, with the exception or with the okay of Jeep Corporate to take it off-road here in Oregon. But that was about 20 miles of range, I think, and we did about 9 miles or so off-road with it. So, to do a 1,500-mile rally all off-road in the middle of nowhere, that's a little bit different. So Tanner and the team were great and instrumental in getting us prepared on to how to drive an EV delicately and gain as much range back as possible, because you can gain range. It's just how you do it, especially off-road.
Yeah, my next question was to be, how did that compare with driving a gas vehicle? So you had to really monitor your range?
Yeah, it was completely different. Emily and myself were faced with multiple rallies in addition to the main rallies. So not only were we challenged against range, we were challenged against ground clearance. We were the lowest vehicle that were there, and we were stock height, sans, in aluminum and Kevlar skid plate. So we were 6.7 inches factory height above the ground, sans the thickness of the skid plate. So we just tossed a bunch of rocks out of the way, and Emily was a great spotter as far as getting me down some trickier and up trickier sections of the trails. Yeah, in addition to that, just making sure that we were cognizant of all four wheels, the corners, the underbelly, of course, because that's where the battery pack lays, and just really were very extra cautious and extra careful of the vehicle itself, its mechanics, as well as its range while we were doing the off-road rally.
That's very cool. It's pretty cool to be able to look back at this and see that you're kind of a pioneer of EVs, I guess, right? Because it's still pretty early in EV life, right?
It is. And I would love to do that again. So if there's any EV manufacturers or any OEs that are out there that have an all electric car, whether it's an all-wheel drive or an 4x4, or even just on road to do an endurance rally of some sort or competition, or just even a drive, it's so new still. And whether you're partnering off grid with a company like Renewable Innovations out of Utah. They were the ones that supplied power for us for the Rebel Rally, or any other entity, or maybe it's public chargers along the way, and you find out which ones aren't broken and which ones you can use, and that's part of the story. I'd love to do it again. I think that, yeah, being thrust into a segment of a very early pioneer EV off-roader, that was a pretty cool thing, and I'm still writing about it. I'm literally still writing about it almost a year later.
That's excellent. So the charging network they brought to you, how is that powered? How do they put a solar thing or some kind of a biofuel?
That's a really good question. So they had two different entities. They had a semi truck that basically had, I believe it was 6 stations to be able to power EVs or the PHEVs, because there were different plug-in hybrids that also competed. But of course, they had gasoline to fall back on. We had nothing to fall back on. And that was to have been and can be supplied by solar. But unfortunately, I think something had happened with that truck that had the solar. And so they ended up having to power that part of it with the diesel generator. That was not the intent. But it can run off of solar. And so they also do have units that are portable to run off of hydrogen, which is a cleaner fuel. The base camp part of it was all renewable. And they have these really interesting, they're solar solar sunflowers that kind of open up and follow the sun. There's a pair of them, and they follow the sun, and they are on this huge trailer, and they power to base camp. So their whole thing is to get close to net zero as you can as far as actual consumption of the base camp and of the charging facilities as possible. So Renewable Innovations is again out of Utah, and then Rebel Rally, they're doing their part, or they're trying to do their part to be as sustainable as they can be.
Oh, it's funny because we're so early on that you wonder how that works, and maybe in the future that we'll be able to be fully renewable charging the whole time, and out remote charging that's renewable. But it's too early to expect it to be that yet. So I know some people are going to go, oh, you used a diesel truck. Well, it is. Unfortunately, technology moves at the pace technology moves at. Some things move faster than others. So the fact that you're out there able to compete in the electric vehicle is still cool, even if we did have that one little hiccup there. So that's pretty cool, though.
Right, and you bring up a really good point. Is that's the pioneering part of the technology, right? Is to be able to pioneer these EVs on road, off road, and remote surroundings, wherever it may be. But to get the infrastructure to catch up, whether you're portable, towable, I was trying to say portable and towable, or fixed, drop-in stations that are hydrogen powered or what have you. There are different fuel alternatives. There are different charging alternatives. But until that all catches up, it is going to be the let's test the cars and trucks and see how they do, and then progress with that technology, and the infrastructure will then catch up, hopefully, and be able to suffice on the back end.
Yeah, it's not worth investing in that technology unless we know it's a provable thing, a workable thing. So it makes sense. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, some people think that it's a cart before the horse. Some people think, opposite. There's a lot of opinions that are out there. But to be somebody that's actually tested it, and driven an EV off-road, and even Andy with his time with the 4xe, I mean, in all electric mode, that was a really interesting animal. I mean, wouldn't you say, Andy?
The instant torque that you get from an EV can be pretty incredible off-road, where you want slow, you want slow, quick movements. You want, slow, methodical movements, when you're looking to place your tire on a rock or whatnot. But you've got all this power. And so, it's pretty neat. I think that, I think there's quite a future for it. So I know we also got turned on to, what is the all electric rally raid thing we were watching? Do you remember?
Electric rally raid.
Yeah, there's an
yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's got a dumb name. I forget what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
we've talked about it. We've talked about it before. It's pretty crazy.
It's
amazing. Buggies.
Yeah, the buggies. Yeah, it's amazing, and they do it all in these places in the world that need like attention and whatnot, and for environmental reasons and whatnot. But
I know you're
but
talking
it was
about the one that's in Sahara, right? Or
they did one
overseas.
there. I think they did one in Iceland. I think they did one.
Not the Bangor Rally, is it?
No, it's a series.
It's called Extreme E.
Extreme E.
God, I was going to say, like, oh my God, why is my mind
Extreme
just going crazy?
E? Yes, right. Which sounds like a hell of a party drug, but that's not what it is.
Well, those are like $1 million cars, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, this is it's the it's like the Formula One of electric off-road vehicles, I think. But yeah, it was a blast to watch them. It was great racing, and they had
it's really good. They don't care either. They just
racers too.
Yeah, I think Tanner Faust is one of them.
Tanner Faust was one of them. Christina Gutierrez, who ran a Dakar.
Sebastian Loeb.
Yep. So, but all kinds of really, really top tier drivers, and it was a lot of fun. I don't care. Good racing is good racing, whether it's powered by dinosaur juice or volts or whatever it is. Like, good racing is good racing. And
it helps push the technology because they have the budget to try stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you're with something that's is such a big name and in very expensive vehicles, and but I look at these people that are doing like Tesla swapped, crazy what were ICE engines, and they're these vehicles they're putting in EV engines or not engines, motors and powertrains to give them new life, right? And it's such an interesting dynamic of whether it's on-road or off-road. Especially if you're off-road, sitting there in silence, and you might be lucky if you hear a little bit of a whir from the engine. Gosh, I keep saying engine. I'm so used to talking about ICE vehicles lately, but motors, and you just hear the crunching of the rocks underneath your tires. You hear the wind. You hear just, the slight little scratch, if you're pinstriping accidentally, with vehicles or sagebrush against the side of your vehicle, you hear those sounds. And it's such an interesting thing because you're not really used to that when you're hearing a banging and clanging of a 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder that's next to your, side and your hood. Yeah.
You hear the flexing of the suspension creak. And, and these things, you're like, whoa, you're just not used to it. But anyway, it's a thing. That's cool. And I think it's going to become more of a thing.
And we hope to be involved in it, again in the future. I'm very thankful to VW for giving me that opportunity to partner with them.
My dream is that Mitsubishi builds a 4-wheel drive electric Delica.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. We'd be all over that.
Jeez. Yeah, like
and then sells it here.
Yeah. Right? Like you put 4-wheel motors in there, have super good ground clearance.
Mm.
Oh, you're talking my language. Hey, that's going to be like Alcan 2026 maybe.
Me likey. Yeah.
To give it a little retro vibe to it. I mean, come on.
Well, have you seen what Hyundai has been doing recently with like some of their stuff, where they've been doing these like retro concepts and all this, and it's like, what is this? Like, I don't know if it was real or if it was just a fan rendering of a Hyundai Galloper that they were going to come up with, and it was like, oh my god, like it's this 80s, retro Hyundai, 90s retro Hyundai Galloper.
I think I've only seen one in real life.
I've only seen one once.
Yeah, I was with you when I saw it.
British Columbia.
Yeah, it was so cool.
I talked to that guy actually at the BC Overland Rally.
Did you?
This year.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Such a small world.
Rabbit hole.
We're full of them.
Well, yeah.
There's only so many of us that are into weird, old, esoteric Mitsubishi off-road vehicles.
I know.
So
It
doesn't surprise me you know them.
Yes. So.
Excellent. So we're here to talk about a different rally today, I think, right, Andrew?
Well, before we get to that, I do want to hear about Mercedes drove the Great Race.
Oh, did you?
Which I'd completely forgotten about. Yeah. So I kind of want to hear about that too, because that's like right up our alley as well.
Yeah, we're all full of rallies and nonsense and frivolry.
Frivolry.
Ladies
and gentlemen, you heard it here first. We've coined a new word, frivolry.
I'm still trying to.
It's a combination between frivolous and chivalry.
Something like that.
I'm
just trying
frivolous.
to catch up on a lot of sleep and mild heat exhaustion that I got back from the rally. But in all seriousness, I was one of 3 women drivers and mentors for an all-female student team that was on behalf of the RPM Foundation, which it's a nonprofit foundation that focuses on restorative preservation and mentorship for young students to get into the auto restoration segment. And so they had asked me to be one of the drivers, and I was also there on behalf of media and a journalist. And we what was it, the 18th of June, so just this last week, left Warwick, Rhode Island, and drove about 2,300 miles. So it was let's see, 9 days, 10 states, and about 2,300 miles. And the LeMay America's Auto Museum in Tacoma, Washington was extremely kind and lent us a museum car. It was a 1966 V8 289 Ford Mustang, a bright red Ford Mustang. So I had the pleasure and was very humbled to be part of the team to pilot that vehicle and help the team with two talented navigators that are students, Kinsey Wilson and Olivia Gadjo, and they shined during the competition. We had some stalling issues and some mechanical mishaps that we were working through the majority of the race, but you know what? We took our time. We did our fixes. We tried to troubleshoot what we could, and the car was great. And we worked together so well as a team, and we finished strong. And we finished on our own power. So it was great. And I couldn't be more proud of the team.
That's very cool. That's always been a bucket list event to do for me, probably for Andrew as well. Being vintage car people, the desire to take them on long road trips is just, it's too strong sometimes. So I would absolutely love to do that event. Yeah.
It was absolutely
I'd love to
fascinating.
Do the event.
I've got,
right.
I literally, as of maybe 10 minutes before this podcast, finished through reviewing about 4,000 photos and videos that I took. So of course I was there as media on behalf of the New York Times, and going to be writing a piece for them and potentially other publications, in addition to being a competitor. But it was so neat. There were about 130 or 140 teams. I need to get the final answer as to who was there and who finished. But it was approximately those amount of teams. And they had things as early as Model A's that were from 1908. They had the Wandering Troubadours of Finland.
Yeah.
They had a 1918 American LaFrance. Yes, American LaFrance. I'm still learning my classic cars, so forgive me.
Brass era stuff is hard.
There's so much stuff, and that's not my wheelhouse. So I was way out of my comfort zone, but it was so interesting and fascinating, the camaraderie and the community of those people, and it just, because you have such a unique and older car, each vehicle has to be 1974 of age or older. So, and I think you get more points the older you are as far as your vehicle and your team.
Oh, is that right?
I believe so. Yes,
okay.
I believe so.
Okay.
So the cool thing is I had no idea how many families did it. It was fascinating. Everybody that I talked to, just have impromptu interviews, it was a grandfather with his granddaughter and grandson, and they're like 16 and 17 years old, and he's had this vehicle for 52 years, or, all sorts of stuff. And I honestly could write a book. I don't know how I'm going to fit this all in 1,200 words, but I'm going to try.
Well, I got a question. So just out of curiosity for you guys, knowing the qualifications, you have to have a vehicle 1974 or older. What vehicles would you guys take?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, Andrew's cars are out. So
I'd have to use something else, but maybe my dad would let me borrow, or maybe he'd do it with me. He's got a 34 Buick.
Oh, cool.
38. Sorry,
38
That's
Buick.
very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so that would be kind of cool.
And I happen to have a 1974 Dodge Colt that's still on the East Coast that has to come to the West Coast. So what better way to get it there than competing in the cross-country rally?
68 Mustang.
Oh,
68 Camaro you have.
Camaro, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Or the
cool.
68 Mustang, either way, any of them. I would probably do it in the Colt because... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I can tell you one thing, that next year's rally is from, I believe, Fort Augustine or somewhere close to there in Florida, and that goes all the way to Colorado.
St. Augustine?
St. Augustine,
Wow.
I believe. So Florida to Colorado, they're still working out the route, but that's what the tentative next year's rally route is going to be.
What's the cost involved to enter this? Do you know?
That's a really good question. I want to say about 6,000, and
Okay.
I'm not sure. I think that's separate from hotel rooms and whatnot.
Of course, yeah.
Teams, which is the all-student team. They're all students, so there were 7 teams that wanted to. There were all students that wanted to compete. 4 of them did. The students part of it, their costs were all included because of grants and because of the X Cup. Scholarships and monies that are available to be able to help the students, because they wanted them to have a great experience, and just even get that much more excited about the motorsports and in auto industry as a whole. And then us as adult like mentors and drivers, then we had our costs associated with being part of the team.
Excellent. Well, Andrew, we should figure
I
out
love
a way
the
to do
idea
that
of the
and get some
74 Colt,
sponsorships.
though.
Right. It's a rally style car. It does be good in a road
Yes.
rally.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome.
Right. Well, nobody asked me, but I'd choose a 1974 Dodge Tradesman to a 400 with a 360. But that's just me.
I want an old Willis. I want a flat fender.
A flat fender would be amazing and terrifying.
It would be absolutely terrifying. But yes.
You might as well take a motorcycle at that point.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Excellent.
before we get to the main topic about the Alcan, do you have any other? Do either of you have any other adventures coming up?
Yeah. Have either of you done any? Have any of you done any of my bucket list trips other than the ones we've already talked about? Yeah.
Probably not. I was at the Northwest Overland Rally and the BC Overland Rally, which are always amazing events. They're super fun as both a vendor and as a participant. They keep them small and intimate, and they're a lot of fun. It's actual people who really enjoy travel and vehicles and sharing stories over beers and campfires, and it's super fun. And then we're both headed to the Overland, the inaugural Overland Expo PNW. This event, which is a very large overlanding centric show, and so we'll be doing that this week. But I've had the Delica at all the shows, so that's been fun.
Well, in the Alcan 5000 rally, the Pajero that we piloted in 2020 for the winter Alcan 5000 rally, that will also be at the Pacific Northwest PNW show. That's near Bend, Oregon, by the way, this coming weekend. It's called Overland Expo Pacific Northwest. And so our Delica van will be in the Warren booth, but then the Alcan 5000 Pajero we took will be in the Light Force USA booth.
Sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, but otherwise, we did a big trip with the Delica last year where we drove back to the I shudder to use the term digital nomad, but we did the digital nomad thing, and we went from here to Wisconsin, and then you worked from Wisconsin for a while, and then drove down to Los Angeles in the Delica. Spent some time with Front Runner, got a roof rack prototyped, and then drove up the California coast back up to Oregon. So that was a big old trip. That was a lot of fun, but I don't know if that's a bucket list thing for you.
Well, and we went to the Overland Expo West show in May. That was that we took the Delica down, had that in the Warren booth. That was the second major showing of it. The first actual showing of that vehicle build in its current form was Mountain West of last year, sans the Front Runner prototype rack that is now being sold globally. But that was at the Mountain West show in
no, it had the
Colorado.
rack on it.
Did it have the rack?
Yeah.
Oh, it did have the rack. Yeah, you're right. So that was the actual first showing of it. But then we were to have showed it at Radwood and then go to West last year, and Andy threw his back out.
I slipped a disc, so that put my life on hold for about 6 months.
Yeah, put our life on hold. And so we wanted to make sure he got better. And so this year we're kind of mostly back to normal, and, after lots of PT and things.
I know you said you shudder to say, but I don't hate that term. Is it a term that's popular somewhere and not cool because it works kind of?
Oh no,
it's digital nomad.
I just associate it with
It's like overused, right?
Yeah, and I associate it with Instagrammers who are taking
Hashtag van life
selfies and just like, yeah, I'm living this beautiful life in my $400,000 Sprinter van, and drinking artisan coffee on the beach, and like we're digital nomads. And it's like, I don't know, I get nauseated thinking about the term, but I love the idea of it. I really do, and having done it a couple of times, not for like years, but for weeks. I do really love it. So, but
my company my company is being generous enough to allow me to live that life for a week in 2 weeks. So I'm going to call it digital nomading from now on. So just for a week, but it's all right. I'll be in Iowa for a week working from the road.
I'm probably just overly jaded, or just because of the job that I have that requires me to see a lot of people's Instagram and all that stuff. I guess I just get a little jaded, and working in the working in the overlanding sphere a lot, you hear a lot of the same themes repeated over and over. So it's probably just jaded old man Andy. So
Oh, stop, because somebody's going to coin that as a hashtag.
yeah, whatever. So, but no, I honestly, I do love and adore the idea of being able to work where you want, when you want, in a vehicle, all that stuff. When we were in New Zealand, we did this. We weren't really working, but we had the Sprinter van for 2.5 weeks around New Zealand, and it was amazing. But I wrote a piece for Crankshaft Culture, our website, called "Van Life Can Be Amazing, but it can also be terrible." And what you don't ever see, by the way, out of this stuff is when why does your gray water tank is empty, your black water tank is empty, your trash is empty, and yet the van still smells like cooked onions for some reason, and like you can't figure it out.
Or what happens if you get sick?
What happens if you get sick? Or
oh yeah. Or you're fighting. If you happen to have an argument and you're stuck in a steel box with each other for 3 weeks straight, or 10 years straight.
That never happened.
No, not at all. But I mean, Andy brings up a great point. Is it's not all it's cracked up to be. And so when we do a silly little thing whenever we start a big trip or a major rally or something, we pinky swear to each other. So pinky swear. And so we literally talk about, not killing each other, compromise, good communication, have fun, smile, don't kill any little animals.
Don't hit any animals. Shiny side up.
Yeah, all that type of things. So rubber side down. But anyway, there is truth to that, though.
I just think that, again, for the record, I think it's amazing. I love to do it. I think it's awesome. There's just so many of the what's the word? It's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, so many of the words, or so many of the phrases that get overused and thrown around a lot that seem to lose a little bit of their meaning, being like, are you digital nomading it if you're like sitting at McDonald's in Cincinnati? I mean, maybe.
Or sleeping in the Walmart parking lot because you can't find, anywhere else to go, and you're broken down and you don't have any parts and they're coming in a week and you have no money. Or I think the digital nomad thing. Not that now that we're on the topic of the van life thing, like I just think that the term is often associated with some sort of glamorous road travel lifestyle, versus the realities of, tonight we're at the Flying J truck stop in Snowville, Utah, again.
Because we can't find anywhere to actually park this thing, and I haven't done laundry in a week, and I smell horrible.
And our fridge
doesn't work.
The connection just broke, and we can't find the part to be able to fix that. So our food is all stuff that we have to get thrown away. I mean, whatever it may be, it's just
we are just Debbie Downers.
On that note, let's talk about something more fun.
I mean, honestly, if anybody described their actual life, van life or not, for the actual truth, nobody would want to live anywhere, a house or a van or anywhere.
True.
So.
Right.
Yeah. This is true.
Just don't tell you that part,
I've said multiple times, van life is still real life. And you still have all the problems despite your glossy Instagram feed. You're drinking your craft beer with the labels out so the camera sees it, all this stuff. And again, it's probably just me being, shaking my fist at clouds kind of thing. But
I think for us,
I do think it's amazing because I love to do it, but I guess I just don't. I just hear the phrases thrown around so much.
Well, I think for Andy and me, we choose to be, and I don't want to say a little more honest, but be a little bit more forthright with some of the realisms that we've had to face. I mean, we've written multiple articles about the not so fun and the not so pretty part of traveling, whether it's off the pavement or on it, and just going through some of the struggles. But we choose to highlight that because we hope that it might still inspire somebody else to go through it, knowing that there are challenges along the way, and it's not always going to be pretty roses and sunshine and all this fun stuff.
I want to see an Instagram account that's nothing but the shitty things about van life. I don't know if I can say that on this show.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah,
I mean,
new hashtag JBL Landy.
You should start that Instagram.
Yeah, I've thought about it.
Shitty van life. Like we need another one to manage.
Van life, hashtag van life is terrible.
Anyway. Nah. There's a lot of great things.
No, there really is.
Anyway, main topic. We are here to discuss the Alcan. You were doing the Alcan rally.
we had you guys on. probably 2 years ago now. I think
Yeah.
we talked about the Alcan Winter Rally,
Yes.
and my favorite part was the sour toe.
Yes, somebody actually remembers that.
Somebody needs to go to my YouTube channel and watch my sourdough video that I put so much work into it. Yeah, it has like 86 views on it.
Okay,
Anyway,
we'll link it.
Nice. That'd be awesome.
So yeah, you guys ran the winter, but now
Yes.
you're gonna run the summer. So tell us about that.
yeah. So the Summer Alcan Rally starts in Kirkland, Washington, home of Costco, and then it also then it goes as far north as Dawson City, which is where the sourdough cocktail is located.
Which we may or may not go back to that place and may or may not do the sourdough cocktail again for version 2.
So it will dip into Alaska, like Skagway.
Skagway, yep.
And then it kind of cuts to the east and goes through Yellowknife, and then in I believe that's Northwest Territories, and then or it could be Yukon.
Telegraph Creek,
Yeah.
Quinnell, Yellowknife. I know that they're out of order, but
Quinnell, yeah, that's out of order. But and then finishes in Jasper, Alberta. So it's 5,040 miles scheduled.
that's if you're en route the whole time.
That is en route, no extra errands. But the actual rally itself is 5,040 miles.
And that's over
And,
10 days, too.
Yeah, yesterday there was actually quite a bit of news that a section of Highway 97 in northern British Columbia washed away, which is on the route. And
I was gonna ask you about that.
yeah, we got a whole bunch of messages on
Laird
Facebook.
Hot Springs, right?
Laird Hot Springs, and the river, the Laird River, apparently washed this section out, and but within, I guess, close to 24 hours, they had some sort of one-lane bridge put up. I can only assume that's got to be some sort of temporary bridge that they're able to span, and there's a pilot car. But it's a major thoroughfare, as major as you can get for that area for commerce and such. So they have to keep that open. They must have crews just at the ready during emergencies.
What was that one grocery store that you showed me a photo of where literally everything was gone out of the grocery store?
A friend of mine, Robert, who lives up in Whitehorse, had sent me an article about how the grocery stores were just cleaned out with people because with supplies, because people were afraid they weren't going to be resupplied anytime soon. So they wiped out a lot of the supplies in Whitehorse. But like I said, it's open again. But anyway, so 5,040 miles. We were told about 30% of that is gravel and dirt. So that's well over 1,000 miles. I think it was 1,400 miles. My math is terrible.
No, it's going to be at least 1,500, if not more.
Yeah. So lots of gravel and dirt. And you think, oh, well, 30%, that means 70% is tarmac. But like 1,500 miles of dirt, just dirt. So
a lot of potholes and washboards.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
At least with the 2020 winter Alcan 5000, we're running on studded winter tires, right? So they had good traction, but you were on a blanket of ice and snow for the majority of the time.
A little bit more give.
Right. It's a little bit more give, a little bit more cush. But this year, it's literally going to just be dirt and gravel. And then whatever roads there are, a lot of the roads aren't in good condition.
Right. And so the big deal for us this year, too, is we're partnering with Subaru of America, and they're providing us a Outback Wilderness to run the event in. So 2020, we had a 91 Mitsubishi Pajero with a 2.5 liter turbo diesel, and it did great. Never a problem, anything like that. And the thing that we learned on that 2020 rally was a crossover is really the optimal vehicle for these long distance rallies, because you've got power, ground clearance, and they're comfortable. The Pajero had the ground clearance. It was comfortable, but it has 100 horsepower and 170 foot-pounds of torque.
Well, they're both capable. I mean, both platforms are capable.
Yeah, we're not rock crawling here. We're looking for ground clearance so you can miss the go through the potholes, miss the rock in the road, that kind of stuff. The stuff that gets you flat tires, stuff that hits oil pans.
And we're making miles. I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you think about it, over 5,000 miles, but only 10 days. So, you have to have they have TSDs. Yeah, right. Let it sink in, right? So 5,000 miles, 10 days. You got to make some mega miles. And so, like Andy alluded to, it's got power. It's going to be very comfortable. It's got 9.5 inches of ground clearance. It's got great suspension for off-road travel, and among a lot of different creature comforts. And for us is the Alcan 5000 Rally. Yes, you make a lot of miles, but it's time, speed, distance competitions within it that's very key. So that's, if people aren't familiar with time, speed, distance, or TSD rallies, it's at or below speeds. It's on public roads or trails. And you basically are given this big fat route book that says, when you're within a TSD section, usually you start one at least once a day, if not twice a day, 1 in the morning. You'll say, like, turn right on Smith Street, go 23 miles an hour for 0.29, miles. Turn left on Deer Drive, go 34 miles an hour, or those types of things. Myself as a navigator need to tell Andy where to go. I need to tell Andy where to continually go.
She loves this because she gets to tell me where to go.
Right, I get to tell him where to go. But the biggest thing is to stay en route, on time, on speed, and do everything perfectly as best as you can. When you're done with that, those can last anywhere from 15 minutes to maybe half an hour or so. You might have to make up 400 miles of transit in order for you to make your late afternoon TSD,
or
time,
just be
speed,
done
distance, or
for
be
the
done.
evening.
We've had 500 miles or 400 and some miles, I think, with 1 day of transit. That's a lot.
So when we did the Alcan 5000 in 2020 also, we had registered late, and they only allow 40 cars, and we were car 39. And the way they stage them is car number 1 is out at 8:01, car number 2 is out at 8:02, et cetera, et cetera. So we were out at 8:39. So you do your TSD, that's fine, and then after your TSD, you have like a 500-mile transit to the next Arctic town. And the problem is with that little power that we had, we oftentimes would get in late, and like the restaurant was closed, so we didn't get dinner.
Freeze-dried food again.
Yeah, granola bars and beef jerky on the menu. And so first of all, I think we're car 25 or 26.
So far, we're 25, I think.
Yeah, so we'll be much more mid-pack or closer to mid-pack, which is great. And we'll have enough power that we can go the speed limit or a couple of kilometers over. So we can say, like, get dinner at night, which is nice.
That's important, especially if you're rallying, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. You get pretty hungry, and then you still have to haul in all of your gear, and you're up really early in the morning because you have to load up all your gear. And, many of the times we were out, we're preparing and loading up at 5 in the morning, I think, right? Yeah. So you don't get much sleep during these rallies.
Suddenly I'm craving some dehydrated breakfast.
Mountain House, man, I'm telling you.
Do you know what color the car they're giving you is?
I think it's the cobalt blue.
Yeah,
that beautiful
blue.
Blue, yeah.
We'll know on July 11th, we are actually going to be getting said actual vehicle for a week so that we can measure it out and have a call with Subaru Corporate, one of their product planners or one of their product specialists. So they're going to give us an in-depth walk around while the vehicle's here, which is fantastic for us to really get to know the vehicle. Then it gets shipped back. And then if everything goes well with livery and everything, we'll hopefully take receipt on August 8th. And then Andy and I will then upgrade and do the final install of the aftermarket parts and then have it ready, I think we're leaving here the 20th or so. And then we're going to head up there for a day or two early. And then 21st. I think the 22nd is when tech inspection and stuff starts. And I think the 23rd is the actual rally itself.
That's correct.
Next month.
Yeah, I like that blue. I saw one Sunday. Yeah, there was one Sunday. I was parked next to it. Took my kid to the park.
Nice.
They're pretty tall and big cars.
Yeah. They have 225 65 17 Yokohama Geolander ATs, which is the G015s. I've run those I had those tires on our first Delacar 89 Star Wagon, and I really liked them. So
we had no issues with them.
It'll have 4 of those and a full-size spare, which is really nice.
And that was exactly the same tire, different size, but same tire that we ran with VW and the Rebel Rally. So we had absolutely no issues with them during the rally. It was great. I mean, nice, meaty tire. They're quiet on road if you're on road, but it's a really good tire.
Yeah.
What kind of modifications are going to add to it?
Ooh. So it's going to be just minimal stuff. I mean, honestly, the vehicle out of the box is completely capable of doing this.
We'll be doing a variety of
Yes.
actual
So
OE accessories.
we'll
too.
be doing some OE accessories, including like their Thule roof basket. We'll have the full skid plate package, like the rubber mats and whatnot. But in terms of like actual aftermarket stuff, we'll have first of all, let's see. So we'll have a Factor 55 Factor 55 hitch link in the hitch. So if we needed to be pulled out of a ditch, we'll have that. We'll have a Rally Innovations light bar and then Light Force lights on it. We've been told it just doesn't get that dark that late up there, but when we did the winter one where it would get dark at 4:30, having those aftermarket auxiliary lights up front was you had to have that.
And knowing that we're going to have a ton of gravel and dirt and potential a lot of dust, even if it's during the daytime, I know being able to have extra auxiliary lights really helps cut through those dust clouds. So we don't know how much it's going to rain or have rained wherever we go, and how much silt we might encounter too. So,
right. So
having Light Force lights on that Rally Innovations bracket is really going to help.
Yeah, we'll have a set of Max Trax minis up on the rack just in case we get stuck.
Yep.
Or somebody else gets stuck and needs help. And then Scosche, they make the magnetic mounts. They're sending some stuff to hold our phones and our radios and some electronic charging kind of things. So.
And then I think we also have Warren has, of course, the company that Andy works for has a variety of different recovery gear. So along with Factor 55 and Max Trax, we're going to use the different
shackles,
shackles and things.
So it's real minimal kind of stuff, but it's all real practical things that we need. The winter Alcan, they require you to carry extra fuel, just because you're also fighting, say, like survival. But we're not going to have to worry about that so much unless we're worried about getting either eaten by mosquitoes or bears. And so I'm not sure we'll carry extra fuel. The vehicle has an 18.5 gallon tank, and even with all the gravel, we would expect to get about 400 miles on range. And I think they want you to have at least 250. So I think we'll probably be good on that.
And I think a lot of it, if we decide to carry a jerry canister of fuel, it would be to help other people. There are all sorts of different vehicles that run both rallies, whether it's the winter or summer version, but there could be like old school minis, like old right-hand drive minis.
Hertz
that run
Mustang.
Exactly, like a Hertz Mustang that's running. And actually they were, Carl and Doan were one of the competitors of the Great Race Rally that I just finished with, and I had a chance to see it. They ran the 2018 Alcan 5000 Summer Rally. And so all different kinds of vehicles, and some of these have really puny small gas tanks or fuel tanks. So it's the help each other type of a rally mentality. So everybody has at least one buddy car, if not multiple buddy cars. You have emergency communications, which with our Scosche mounts will house our rugged radios, the handhelds that we have, and then we have antennas for elongated reach for it. But just even if it's a local that you see that's pulled over, I mean, heck, in winter we helped semis. We stopped down by, what was it, Whitehorse, right? That there's a semi that was stuck trying to go up a hill.
No, that was outside Eagle Plains.
Eagle Plains, that's right. So we went down there and told them to call a grader or a dozer to come up and be able to help that semi truck go up the hill.
I mean, the winter thing is
it's a fight for
survival. I mean, you really got to be careful up there. So.
Well, and we packed overnight. The rally during the winter says you have to pack like you need to stay in your vehicle, in which some people have stayed in their vehicles in the winter. So, mega huge warm sleeping bags, food, fuel, all that type of stuff, batteries, a lot of that has got shorter life when you're there over the winter. But the Alcan 5000 Rally happens like the Olympics. So it's every other year winter, then every other year summer. It's just like the winter or the cadence.
Speaking to other competitors who have done both, I mean, I don't want you to jinx your event, but it sounds like this is going to be less of a intense rally than the winter rally. What's the main obstacle in the summer rally other than just navigating? Whereas snow is obviously, winter, snow and cold. What's the main obstacle to worry about in the winter and summertime?
Mosquitoes,
hangovers.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
No, I think road conditions.
I do think that people that I know that have done both. Most people that I know prefer the winter one. I think it's just because it's a little bit more intense, and it's just so different. The people that I know that have done the summer one, there can be a lot of potholes. The gravel sections can be, the roads aren't always super good.
Didn't you say that there are more flats in the summer too?
Yeah, I was told
So,
that there are more flats,
The roads,
flat tires.
even though the roads may be all snow and ice in the winter, Andy had to learn, and we're both Midwest drivers, and he's an excellent winter driver, but you've got studs, you've got good traction, and they groove the ice and they groove the roads up there. It sounds crazy, but they do groove the roads for added traction. But in the summer, you're regulated to whatever the roads actually are. And so they can be a lot more harsh in a vehicle. Yeah. And with that is, I think, we're going to have our full-size spare, like Andy mentioned, our Geolander Yokohama that's going to be in the spare tire well. But I think we'll most likely bring our ARB. We've got a spare tire kit too. Tire patch kit. So we'll bring that as well.
I've never had to use it, so it'll be kind of like, hopefully there's a good YouTube channel that I have reception up there for.
I've watched enough channel or enough classes. We should.
But yeah, plus if it's raining, there's mud, and I'm hoping that the fire season isn't bad, because it can be a fire up there can be a problem.
Well, and there's already fires up in that area.
Yeah, it's been a pretty wet year up there, which is good for fire danger, but British Columbia regularly gets lots of wildfires.
And I think for the vehicle, the Outback Wilderness will be donning lots of color of mud and dirt and silt and mosquitoes and all sorts of stuff. So it'll have a different patina to it than it had than our Pajero had with the winter Alcan 5000. But for us, we're excited to be able to document its challenge along the way and figure out what we really love about it and what challenges we have with the vehicle. It's not, we're competitors, yes, but we're also journalists and reviewers and media of the vehicle. So we'll be writing about everything, crash course of 10 days, 5,000 miles, Outback Wilderness, and go. So it'll be really interesting, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity.
I guess it's really smart of Subaru they kind of saw what people were doing with their Outbacks and just decided to come out with a model that sort of has all that stuff out of the box. So it should be pretty cool to see how it lives up to that with you guys using it.
I agree. I think it's a platform that's, obviously they've got a lot of rally heritage, all that extra ground clearance and all that. I think it'll be a very optimal vehicle for this event. We will let you know.
Yeah, stay tuned.
As much as it pains me to say it, I mean, honestly, a decent crossover is all most people even need for the amount of off-road driving they do. Most people aren't crawling. Yep. Most people aren't going super deep into the woods. They're doing fire roads in their Tacoma with 8 inches of lift and 4 grand worth of tires, and they just don't need it. I mean, it pains me to say it as not a fan of crossovers, obviously, where, traditional SUV people and car people, but for most people, that's all you need. And this would be kind of a neat way to prove that this is all you need. And I know that sports cars and stuff do this event too, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to see that whole trend of crossovers becoming what everybody's driving, and what can you do with them? You don't need a Pajero.
Yeah.
You want a Pajero. No. You don't need a Pajero.
Yeah, it's really, it's that combination of ground clearance and at least you don't really even need a ton of power. A cross-track would be totally fine too. But the idea is that you've got something with ground clearance and that can go 120 kilometers an hour.
And I think for us is, no matter what you drive, whether it's a 4x4, an all-wheel drive, or even a front-wheel drive, if it's an endurance rally or just gravel roads to get to the nearest trailhead, understand your vehicle and its limitations and its capability. We can't stress that enough, no matter what it is that you have that you're driving.
Yeah, you can get in trouble in an SUV just as easy as you can get in trouble in a crossover. So,
for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Be prepared.
A lot of it has to do with ability, and I always find it funny when somebody will come up to me in my Pajero and they're like, "Whoa, I can't believe you were able to get through that." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's not my first rodeo either. I've been doing this for 15 years."
But we know its limitations, and it's got limitations for sure.
For sure. But you get we talked a lot about this phenomenon, by the way, at Easter Jeep Safari this year, which I go to with Warren Industries. the ability to just buy into off-road capability these days.
Oh gosh.
It wasn't that long ago where you had to build something that was capable out of the box that you could do a lot of off-road trails in, and now you can simply go to the Jeep dealer, the Ford dealer, or whomever. It doesn't have to be any of those, and you can simply plunk down your money, and you've got something that's extremely capable, way above your driving limits in many cases.
And one of the coolest things about Jeep, for instance, is building their Rubicon. And many years ago, it was close to 20 years now, and I wrote an article in the New York Times and also in Forbes Wheels section online. There was a very vocal small group of engineers at Jeep that basically said, hey, they coined themselves a lunatic fringe. And they were on the trails. They were the enthusiasts, like the original enthusiasts that said, gosh, people are lifting them. People are, adding bigger suspension and this and that, and disconnect sway bars and all these types of things to make them more off-road capable. We want to build an OE factory version of that Jeep. And Jeep finally listened and said, okay, fine, we'll do a limited run of Rubicons. I think it was 2,000 or 3,000 units, and they wanted to taper it off from then on. And it basically caught like wildfire. And
surprise!
Surprise! Hey, there's a market for it. And so it's been interesting to see the evolution of the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, and now the 392 with the bigger engine, the 392 horsepower engine, and and just some
cubic engine,
cubic engine, and some of the other concepts that they've come out with based on the Rubicon. So it's just an interesting evolution in how they started it all.
Mopar in general has always been a little loosey-goosey with the rules, so it doesn't surprise me they're the ones that built that. I mean, they're also the ones that will sell you a 800 horsepower car, so it doesn't surprise me.
Still waiting for the Pacifica Hellcat, just so you know.
Yeah, we all are. We all are.
I know.
I got a render for you.
That's right. Yeah, all four of us. So.
It's coming. I'm sure it's coming.
Cool. I have a question that's for both of you. What is it about combining vehicles and the outdoors that you love?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that for me, I grew up road tripping with my family and whatnot, and I've always enjoyed that. Mercedes and I met on a road trip, not to the outdoors, but to hot import nights in Chicago in 2000. There's a throwback for a lot of people, but anyway, as I've gotten into over the last 15 plus years, gotten into more outdoors vehicle, the combination of outdoors and vehicle. I like to go camping. That's fun. Oh yeah, I like to drive around in a 4-wheel drive. That's fun. And then you can combine those two. And for me, and I'm going to steal Mercedes' answer here, which is,
I'm sure,
which is the ability to, for me, is what I love is the ability to go to certain places that like 99% of the population is never going to see.
Ditto.
When you are able to go to, there might be other 4-wheel drive enthusiasts or other outdoors enthusiasts there, but that ability to get somewhere and see stuff that you just know that the masses aren't going to be able to get to, it's a really interesting feeling, and it's a really, really, for me, it's so cool. And there is this sort of, I don't want to say darker side to it, but where there's a lot of controversy about this now with social media, where somebody will go to this really cool place and take the photos and tag it and all this stuff, and then suddenly it becomes overrun with other people who are going there. But I do, even without, I don't tag places online, but the ability to go to some really cool places that others can't see. That's my long answer.
Well, I ditto 99.999% of everything that Andy just said. But I think for me, it was the wanderlust as a kid, a first generation kid that grew up in an unincorporated town in central Wisconsin on a lake. And just remembering my visions of the trees, the pine trees that were probably maybe 100 feet tall. And I was thinking that they were like 500,000 feet tall, and the waters being like the ocean and all sorts of things being elevated and just more grandiose. But having that same wanderlust, but transitioning it into something that you can have a different carrier, whether it's not your feet per se, but it's a vehicle to be able to help you get out there to realize and reconnect with how you were as a kid, as a child. And it doesn't matter if you're in Czechoslovakia or if you're in the US or if you're in Zimbabwe, it doesn't matter. It's the whole wanderlust of connecting with your past and preserving the potential future, and helping to do what you can to tread lightly and carry those principles forward and help teach and enlighten other people to, pick up trash wherever you are and don't drive off road, if, drive on designated trails, and trying to really, practice those types of principles along that way while you're out there to help keep those trails and those visions open for the future.
Cool.
Excellent answers.
They're really great answers.
I didn't think
long answers, but
yeah. Well,
no, it's fair.
I certainly always had that, like, it's cool to be where other people don't go. That's the simple version of what I would have said. So it's definitely a little deeper than that. But it is always neat.
It's cool to meet other people who also feel that way, and I think that not to go down memory lane too far, but the second Northwest Overland Rally, I think that was in like 2013 or 2012 or something like that. And there was this presentation by these two South African travelers who just came by. Well, I mean, it wasn't like happenstance, but they were in the area, and the organizer, Ray Highland, he had them do this presentation. And I remember Mercedes was with me, and we were just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like they get to see all these amazing parts of the world, and they're doing it in a vehicle. The vehicle is their, well, for lack of a better phrase, the vehicle is the vehicle that actually gets them there, and
it wasn't anything crazy.
No, it was like a Nissan Frontier with a 4-wheel pop-up camper on the back.
Right.
But they were doing the Pan American Highway, and I'm like, these people have been up and down the coast of Africa multiple times. They've been all over the world, and I'm thinking, like, man, that's what I want to do with my life. Is I want to see the world by car.
Isn't that where I turned to you after that presentation and I said in a deadpan face, we need to talk?
Yeah. It was a moment. It was a gestalt. It was an aha thing. Being like, I think this is what I like to do. Like, this is a lot of fun.
And for us to find ourselves in an industry, in a really long roundabout way of getting ourselves there, mainly me, but following our passion and seeing where life can take us, but doing it in a meaningful, productive way, and doing it while we still mentally and physically are able to do it. I think that's the biggest catalyst. I mean, Andy and I, we're not getting any younger. I sound like I'm an old crotchety person. We're like, rah, rah, rah. But
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. But, both our fathers died at very different times. Mine died at 98 at age 66, and his died at 2014 at age 66. Well, I'm 20 years away. I'm like 19 years away from when they died. I don't want to die that young. And if I die tomorrow, I want to make sure that I've seen the world and I've spent my time with Andy doing it.
Yeah. I want to spend my time with Andy doing it also. So, but, it's very much the same. The interesting thing about it is I feel like, especially these days, there's kind of two schools in this kind of like overland thing or whatever you want to call it. Is, you have this kind of traditional, like, hey, I want to do a really cool trip, and now I need to find or build the vehicle that's going to suit my travels. Mm-hmm. But I think lately there's been more of a, hey, I want to build a really cool vehicle and I might take some cool trips with it. There's kind of like two different schools of thought on that. But I guess when I first heard about this, vehicular world travel thing, I guess they call it overlanding these days, is, it's like, it's amazing because that's what I liked to do. I mean, granted, it was mostly just on pavement or whatnot, but going, there are we talk about this a lot. Like, I think there are two kinds of people, and there's nothing wrong with either one, but there are some people who want to see what's on the other side of that hill and are curious to see, once they get there, what's on the hill behind that one, and they're just interested in exploring. And then there are people who are much more interested in just being in around their well, yeah, but like that
It's
almost
like
has
a
a
bubble.
negative
It
connotation.
doesn't have to be.
There are
though.
people that just enjoy sticking around their area, and there's nothing wrong with either one of them. But I have always been, I think Mercedes has always been somebody who likes to explore and see how other people live, what other cultures are like, and do that kind of exploration, and it kind of feeds me.
And I think for me, I've spent many years, whether it's high school, college, and maybe shortly beyond, is just I never wanted to change. I always wanted to be within my bubble. I always wanted the same type of haircut, the same type of this, the same food, same everything. And a lot of it was just, meeting Andy and moving across the country, which was one of the best and most challenging things that I've done, because my mother still lives in Wisconsin, and my sister is in Germany with her 2 children. But I think the further I progressed, the more uncomfortable I wanted to get, because if I felt like I was uncomfortable, I was learning. And if I was failing along the way, then I knew I had to get up, dust off my shoes and pull myself back up from my bootstraps or whatever have you. I always say the saying's wrong.
That was actually the right way.
Was it? Yes, I got one right. But that being said, it is just learn from those missteps and just say, all right, well, okay, if this doesn't work, then let me try this and let me try that. And I mean, lo and behold, now it's like, for instance, I finished the Great Race. Have I ever driven a classic car? Well, I mean,
No,
not really, much less in a rally that is 2,300 miles and being one of the drivers for an all student female team and being successful in that process. But it's really taught me a lot about the value of people, both young and old.
I think I really do believe that one of the reasons why we like doing these long rallies is they do push our comfort zones, and they feed that idea or feed that want for both travel and for car things and
meeting people along the way.
Yeah, and God, it sounds so cliche, but really the people are some of the reasons, the main reasons we do this stuff. It's this, you're among fringe lunatics. We're all doing this for a very similar reason. One thing I say is, we've kind of coined this term, we're united by horsepower, and it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle it is. I don't care if it's a boat, a car, a plane, if it's a motorcycle, how many cylinders, if it's gas or electric. Like, yep. Those of us who are into automotive or into vehicles of any sort, like, we're all really cut from the same stone. We all have that same lust for something automotive, and I think at the risk of sounding like a hippie, I think we'd all be better off if we just acknowledge that similarity. So,
does that mean that you're an old hippie?
Yeah, getting there with God
don't
willing.
Cross my lawn.
So we joked real quick earlier about my bucket list trips that you're taking for me. Now that you've done all these rallies, are there any rallies that you really want to take that are attainable? I'm not talking about the Mille Miglia or something here. I'm talking about any stuff that's really attainable that you want to do that you haven't done.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a whole host of them, that are worldwide. And for me, there is a circuit that is overseas that does all sorts of different types of rallies. And I talked with the rally organizer, and I don't know if and how or when we can make this happen, but they have high altitude, rallies up in the mountains. They have a whole UK rally. They've got an east to west Germany huge loop. They've got an Arctic one that's overseas, over there. That's
Norway,
yeah,
Sweden, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia.
Yeah, like Andy said. But so essentially I would love to be able to do something like that. But I mean, I know that there are other women that are friends of mine that would love to do the Gazelle rally, or, I've got
Gazelle rally is in Morocco.
In Morocco, or we've got friends of ours that have rallied in Dakar as well.
Yeah, Dakar is like Dakar to me is like
cover that.
Dakar is like, hey, maybe I'll enter a Formula One race. Like, that's not gonna.
No,
it's just not how it works.
Millions of dollars to even do it. But
These European ones are through an organization called. Oh, go ahead, Mercedes.
No, that's okay.
Go ahead.
No, that's okay.
Mercedes. Well, anyways, what she was going to say was it's through an organization called Superlative Adventure Club, and or Superlative Adventures, and they're based out of Germany. and they have a whole bunch of the rallies like Mercedes was explaining, and so that's certainly on our short list. So whether that means we fly over there and use somebody's car or buy somebody's car or ship a car, I don't know yet, but that's definitely on the bucket list for us.
Very cool.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I've never even heard of those rallies, so the press might need a little help there. So you can definitely do that for them. But I think what. Go ahead, Andrew.
What's the old car one? That's like Beijing to Paris. Is that
Peking to Paris? Well, is that still going on?
It was used to be called Peking to Paris, but I don't know what it's called. There's a number of those.
Mongol
Mongol
rally. Got a friend of
rally.
ours, Ian, that have done that.
Yeah, our friend Ian. If Ian's listening, shout out to Ian Andrews. He did it a few years back in a Morris Minor with like 3 other dudes in a Morris Minor,
Awesome.
and they I believe you have 30 days to do it.
Yeah, it's
or
a
like
month long.
2 months. It's something like that. It's ridiculous. And if you go to Subcompact Culture, our website, and look up Mongol Rally, you'll find a couple of videos of his that he made. And I already know what I want for a vehicle. I want to use a Mitsubishi.
Mighty Max?
No, so you're. I just get so geeked out about this. You are penalized for like going over 1100 cc's or something like that. So I would like to use a Mitsubishi Minica van and do it because you've got 4-wheel drive, you've got some space, all that stuff. But then they oftentimes, I guess, they donate the vehicles to people who live in Mongolia and whatnot. So anyway, I would love to do the Mongol Rally someday.
So you can tell there's not a shortage of answers. We're full of it. Well,
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
We're all full of it. That's why we have a podcast. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. right.
I'm not. I don't think I'm going to go to Europe anytime soon. But there's a ton of rallies that I see, coverage of here in the States. And unfortunately, when the general public hears rally, they think Gold Rush Rally or Gumball Rally or all these rich playboys behaving badly on the street, and it gives kind of a bad name to what we want to do. But we need to really kind of separate ourselves from that somehow. But there's tons of vintage car rallies, and I really want to do some of them. So someday we'll get out there for sure.
I think you raise a valid point too. When we say rally, I feel like most of the people we talk to picture, Colin McRae sliding sideways through a corner or something like that. It's like, no, that's stage rally. That's different than road rally. And when we do road rally, we're part of the Cascade Sports Car Club, which is ironic because we own nothing that is even slightly sporty.
Well, it's our local Oregon club. Yeah,
it's a great organization, and most of the people who are doing it are probably over 40 or 50, and we love doing it. And
it's rally for the most part is very different than racing. Rallying is, unless you're talking about stage rallying or like World Rallycross when it was and that type of thing, rallies are usually time, speed, distance rallies at or below speeds on public roads or public trails, and most of the times it's much slower. So if anything, you're like not holding up traffic.
It's accuracy.
It's accuracy. So it's like if you're archery, right? If you're shooting archery and you're not like sailing it above the bullseye way off into the distance. You have to be how accurate you are to the bullseye. It's how you are with the time, speed, distance, driving aspect of it, and navigation aspect of it. So you have to be en route, on point, on time. Racing is a whole nother thing, like the Sonora Rally, the Baja 1000, the Nora Rally, those types of things I believe are all like go fast, go long, go hard in the desert. So completely different thing. So we're trying to do our part to distinguish those. And like, for instance, the Rebel Rally is the same thing. It's not a race. It's on, public lands. It's all on public roads, that type of thing. It's not racing whatsoever.
That's why I say we need to get rid of the stigma that the public has because of people like the Gold Rush Rally and whatnot that do cause trouble and do race on public roads. But
totally agree.
Well, it's similar.
I've lost so many TSDs.
Our best showing was we took 3rd place at the Cascade Sports Car Club Ghouls Gamble, a Halloween themed rally. But that was our top showing. But
Well, that was because we were novice. I mean, right now we're at SOP, or the seat of pants class, which is where the majority of everybody is. And there's a lot of talented people that have done it for years and still stay in that class. And we just graduated, so to speak, into that class because we felt like we couldn't be novice anymore. And we're just, most times getting our butts handed to us. But I mean, our goal is to finish, right? Hopefully not finish last, finish strong, finish within our own power, and do well and not get lost and not get stuck. And if we do, we get ourselves out. So.
Well, you say you guys have finished third, so that's pretty good because I think Andrew and I combined have never finished better than third from last. So excellent job.
Yeah. Maybe we did sixth out of like 8.
We've got lots to learn.
Well, and that's the biggest thing. Like Andy said, we've got lots to learn. And as long as you have fun and you challenge yourself and you are, you're mechanically sympathetic to the vehicle you're driving, I think that's another huge bit of it. And I mean, for instance, the Winter 5000 rally, the Alcan 5000 that we did, we placed second in the historic class. Well, we were of 2 candidates, right? So
second place and last
place, but it's one of those things where I think if you have fun and if you treat each other well, because usually there's a driver and a navigator, and you just really get there. And if you get there dead last, and if something happens, and if you don't even finish, at least to me, getting to the start line is a win. There's a lot of people that don't even want to take the time or want to push themselves to get to that point. So for me, I think just pushing yourself enough to even get to that point and then trying is a huge win.
That's a valid point. I'd never thought about that. Like, we do things that a lot of people don't even do. So it's neat to be a part of it.
I'd say my greatest annoyance was actually, I think it was the last TSD I did with you, Brad, was we did the Winter Challenge. And I think in the time since, I finished it twice, hit all checkpoints, got the finisher plaque, which is the dumbest little thing to want to get. It's a silly little dashboard plaque, but it's a really hard, John Buffum's Winter Challenge rally is insanely hard. The people that win it with like 60 points or something. Woo! Like something ridiculous. Like They're so good at. And this is from 3 p.m. till 3 a.m.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
And he starts it, I believe. So he starts, the first section is tulips. The second section is a map. You have to read and interpret the line on the map. And then I think the last section was just written directions.
Oh, that's interesting.
On top of it, John Buffum is an evil genius, and he'll go out and make changes to the course.
There's traps. He says there's no traps, but he throws traps.
I love it. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, we don't do well with traps.
But Brad and I know we made every checkpoint, but we were late to one.
Yep.
And so we didn't get it. We missed it by like 1.
And that was our Alcan 5000 because we were in a Mitsubishi or a Dodge Raider, and it was also very cold out and it was snowing. And I
think it was negative 14 or it was 14 degrees. It was very, very cold.
We'll call it our like Alcan 200. That's what that was.
It was very, very cold.
Yeah. Well, mad props for a Dodge Raider.
Yeah, for real.
Were actually
6-cylinder or 4-cylinder?
Oh, 4-cylinder. Well, like 3.5.
Nice. Well, for the 2020 Winter Alcan, when Jerry Hines, the rally owner of the circuit, had found out that we were wanting to run a crazy right-hand drive Pajero diesel, he had asked us two-door diesel. He had asked us to be, if we were interested, to be a tribute vehicle to the late great legendary Rod Hall racer, desert racer. He's done the Baja 1000. I think he's entered it and won it dozens of times, and he's entered more and won more than people have even decided to enter and compete in, among other things. And so there are some glorious women that are friends of mine in my life, Sue Mead and then also Emily Miller, that have been taught by Rod. And so he's an instrumental person in the desert and racing community as a whole. And for when we were asked to be a tribute vehicle to him, he had just passed away in 2019. And he had, what year was it? He was sponsored by Dodge and had the Dodge Raider.
Yeah, I think it was 84. Well, the 84 was the first year, but I think it was, that was the first year of the Montero.
It was in the 80s.
I think it was an 80. the rally was in 88, so it was probably an 87 or an 88.
So he was asked, so he had driven the Alcan 5000 rally, so he was in a team and had done all of the extreme challenges and gone up to Inuvik and then beyond. And so our job as a tribute vehicle was to pay homage to Rod Hall and his family and his run in the 80s with the Dodge Raider as a cousin vehicle or a sister vehicle, but then also to hopefully recreate his steps in 2020, in which we were very successful, and we froze our tails off, but we did.
Ironically, we were also told as they announced that at the beginning of the rally, and then they also mentioned that apparently he hated the Raider. So,
which we don't know because I've never had a chance to meet him. But we were.
He's got something in common with Andrew. Andrew hated my Raider too, so it works out.
Well,
it wasn't so much that he hated Raiders; he just hated my Raider because it was terrible.
I see.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Actually, it's funny. The Rod Hall Racing still exists, his namesake, and I see them actually every so often on Highway 17 or 10 out here, going to events
cool.
with their trailers. Yeah, they have red modern
There's
trucks
Shelby
now,
Hall. There's Chad Hall. There's a whole entire family. I had the extreme pleasure to meet a few of them at the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame, Ormhoff, when they did the dedication to Rod Hall, in Vegas. And so that was right before the SEMA show in 2019. I think it was 2019. And so I had the pleasure to meet his wife and a few of the family members. And I hold that very near and dear. I mean, I never had a chance to meet Rod in person, but I know a couple people that were very, very close to him. Amy Lerner as well. And Amy Lerner runs Dakar. And so she ran that now twice, I believe. And so, for her, she's just finishing up and just, I think it was already an award winner of a couple of different independent films, made One More Win, I believe is the name of the movie a documentary that she had put together about Rod Hall and his legacy and the challenges he had and everything. I've yet to see it, but, I think with Sue Mead, Amy Lerner, Emily Miller, you can see there are multiple women, and of course a lot of men too, but multiple women that I know that have really been positively moved and dedicated their lives to help pay it forward.
Excellent.
Cool. As we finish up here, what's the current car fleet looking like at the Crankshaft Culture compound?
Yeah,
Crankshaft Culture
compound. It's always in flux. So right now, what isn't in flux is 91 Mitsubishi Pajero XP, which is the one that has went up to the Alcan, and then we have a 92 Mitsubishi Pajero XR2, which has a new engine in it as of a little over about a year and a half ago. It's got a Hyundai D4BF swapped into it, which is basically the 4D56, but the tooling was sold to Hyundai, and so it's got better water-cooled Garrett turbo in it, new injection pump. It's a brand new engine.
And that's the white one that has overflares with silver overflares
right.
trimmed to it. And that's the one that Andy uses a lot throughout the years as far as winch recovery demonstrations and classes.
Exactly. So, and then we have our 94 Delica Space Gear. That's the one that's been going to a bunch of shows. We traveled. We digitally nomaded around, and in that one, and then we have. Currently, we still have our 2007 Toyota Yaris that's all lowered and sway barred and all kinds of stuff. That one may be departing us shortly after 14 years of ownership. We just bought a 2022 Subaru Crosstrek with the 6-speed manual. So we're not
going to keep that stock.
We have some plans for that, and then working with a few companies doing some cool things. So those are the cars that we currently own. Apparently we have a new 2023 Nissan 400Z coming for a loan here shortly in like 2 weeks. And then that new Outback Wilderness that we're going to do the Alcan with as well. So it'll be a crowded fleet in the Lilienthal driveway, but it's all good.
For 'em. We always make room.
That's right.
It's all part of being a car person, having too many things.
This is true.
Of course, and hope our neighbors don't hate us.
This is true.
Did the trying to think now. So my wife bought a 2018 Crosstrek when they came out. It's a 6-speed,
Yep.
but I think it's only got like 150 horsepower. Did they up the horsepower or they changed the mapping?
No. Well, they came out with the Crosstrek Sport that has the 2.5 in it, but you could only
Oh, that's the difference.
you could only get the CVT with
Yeah, you
that.
can't get the
So
stick in it.
I would rather have the manual personally, even if it's a little bit lower horsepower.
We're diehard stick shift
yeah.
people, so
Everything we
Yeah.
own has a manual transmission. So
Yeah.
but so
interesting.
far we've got a whopping like 113 miles on the Crosstrek, and we just got it. But we've driven it a lot around town and on some of the interstates and so on and so
quite
forth. And
comfortable.
I'm just
very
not used to a quiet modern vehicle. I'm like, oh my god, it's like
Very
it's so
quiet.
people would be like, my guess is, I don't know. I'm so not used to having a quiet, smooth riding vehicle. It's like driving a Rolls Royce for me. So the Subaru Crosstrek is the Rolls Royce of the Lilienthal household. So so far I'm really digging it. So
Ditto.
Yeah, we've gotten good fuel mileage out of it. It's got a big tank too, which also kind of tricks you.
Oh, it's good to know.
It's almost like 15 gallons.
yeah,
It's a-
wow.
That's cool.
It's a big tank. So, but then driving on the highway, doing like 70 miles an hour, you'll get like 38 miles per gallon.
Wow.
38, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I would be very happy with
Maybe not 30. Wait,
30.
Rating-
maybe I'm overstating that. I think on the display it's like 35. I'm thinking
Oh.
my Volkswagen does like 38.
Okay.
Well, that'd be nice. I think the EPA rating on highway is 28 or
Yeah,
something. It's not It's not very high.
but people I've read have said it's like underrated. They're easily able to get over 30
Yeah.
miles per gallon with it.
Well, that'd be nice.
We took
It
a
was
trip.
interesting
Go ahead.
because the CVT was rated with a higher MPG.
right.
But I'm like, how could that possibly? When we were buying it, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense because there's more drag on that than just having a manual transmission.
Yeah, I don't know. We took a trip down to California in our Yaris, our lowered Yaris with intake header, Golden Eagle intake manifold, exhaust, blah 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 blah, and I don't know. Maybe it's just getting older, but like, yeah, our backs hurt. And we're just like, my God, this thing is
Well-
great around town, but it's just not great on long trips anymore.
That's because we both have bed backs now. So, I mean, the Yaris has been a great little car. And
Oh yeah,
you
for
know,
sure. Been
we're-
super.
we want to make sure if we sell it, we've got a friend of ours that is in mind already that is very interested in it. But it's been a great vehicle, I think, for us though with our backs, and we've had some changing things. It's like we just need something with a little bit more comfort and something with a little bit more room to be able to haul stuff because and be a cross country trip vehicle that's all-wheel drive to be able to drive us in the winter to get across the country to visit family in the Midwest. It's one of the quintessential reasons that we bought it.
It's not like we don't like depending on 30-year-old JDM vehicles with diesel engines to cross the country in the wintertime.
Oh, we
but
did it in the Arctic.
I know. But
Yeah, no.
we had a 98 Honda CRV for a little while, and that was a good little car, except for the breakdown we had in Montana.
On the way back from our cross-country trip,
Yeah, but
our first one.
yeah, and that proved two things to us. First thing was it's nice to have a comfortable four-door all-wheel drive car to drive cross country in the winter. That was the positive thing, and then the negative thing was it's not awesome to have an old car crossing the U.S. in the winter, and the alternator goes out in a town of 81 people, and AAA won't come get you. And
Well, thank goodness we got service just then and there.
yeah, it was
But
it was a thing. So we decided maybe we have an elderly family back in the Midwest. Love you, moms, but we wanted to have something we could get in a car and drive back to Wisconsin if we needed to. And a 30-year-old Pajero is just like it's probably going to do it, but I don't have to worry about it. So
Yeah, this is the rub, right? Like I love having the old cars, but our two dailies are a 19 and an 18 car
yeah,
because you can't with a 2-year-old toddler. I'm like I can't not to get to work, and I can't not go pick him up if I need to, or bring him somewhere, or have the car broken down next to the side of the road. It's
Totally.
just
Right.
a huge pain. because what am I going to do with a car seat? Get in a tow truck? Like, it's annoying.
Right, totally.
And I think for us, I mean, we both work from home. You know, we talk about the digital nomad life again. It comes full circle. It's you know, as long as we have outlet and Wi-Fi when we need it, we can work wherever, whenever, and you know, really, it doesn't matter what part of the world. So we just don't really need two, you know, dailies plus 3 off-roaders. I mean, you know, I think the Crosstrek is we're going to build it up. You know, lots to be talked about there for future. And I'm sure it'll, you know, work its way into different publications. But our 3 4x4s that we have, we write about them on a regular basis. You know, we talk about the mishaps, we talk about the upgrades, we talk about our adventures with them, and why we bought what we bought, and that they're more analog and they're not so digital and technologically. Yes, I can't talk anymore. Technologically dependent. So, you know, there's all about I had a conversation earlier today with someone about analog driving and about being able to fix things in the field versus all of a sudden it going into limp mode and you have to get it towed back because an ECU or something decided to freak out and you can't get it towed back. So, you know, we eat, breathe, think, and live cars, you know, on-road, off-road cars. And for us, it's a constant evolution, but we just love it.
It will be the first time, if we sell this Yaris, that I will not have had a lowered car since 1999.
That we will have not had.
So,
Excellent. Cool. Well, I'm the masochist of the group because I don't have any modern cars anymore, but that's okay. So I do miss it already.
That's all right.
I do miss.
We love you.
I do miss the turnkey, not worry about it, sitting at lunchtime with the air conditioning blasting my face off. Don't really have that right now, but that's okay.
It is nice. It definitely relieves some stress when you don't have to wrench on the daily to get to work.
It is nice.
This is true.
Anyway, I lived that life when I was younger. I don't want to live it now.
It's fine. I came full circle.
I worked enough to not do it, so I can. It's much more fun to do it for pleasure than to do it out of necessity.
That's totally true. I remember those days. It's Sunday at like 10 o'clock at night, and you're laying under the car going, I've got to get this fixed to get to work. I'm glad to have multiple vehicles that at least 2 of them out of the 5 of them will run. Yeah. And, you know, so at least I've usually got a great chance of getting to where I need to go in some ridiculous clown car.
Hey, almost all of ours are runners.
No, that's true. We should mark this date as July 5th, 2022, and all of the Lilienthal vehicles run under their own power.
Oh my God, you make it sound like we're constantly up on jacks with nothing running.
They're not. Well, usually we have one that's got something.
You'll fit right in, so it's okay. You can be that way.
For sure, yeah. We do have a parasitic Amtra issue on the 91 that I've remedied by putting battery disconnects on. So, but anyway.
Undergoing surgery soon.
I still got to figure that one out.
Excellent.
Working on it.
Well, as always, we want to thank you guys for coming on. We look forward to seeing lots of coverage from the Alcan, for sure. I look forward to those.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's always awesome to be on the show. Love it.
Why don't you plug your socials? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so crankshaftculture.com. Associated social media includes Instagram at crankshaftculture, Twitter at crankshaftcult. We do have a YouTube channel, Crankshaft Culture, as you might have guessed, and then Facebook, Crankshaft Culture. Also join the Crankshaft Culture community, which is our group. It's a super group of about, I think we got like 900 people in there.
Did you mention Instagram, Crankshaft Culture?
I did.
Okay, got it. And you'll be able to find me at Mercedes Lilienthal, Lilienthal. I will be posting articles as they go live, and then also podcasts and radio shows and all that type of stuff. Along with Andy, I'll be tagging that in addition to Crankshaft Culture. So you can find us in a wide variety of spots.
Excellent. Cool. Hey, Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at TSISS350. And you, Andrew?
All right. Well, the podcast is Auto Off Topic Podcast on Facebook, Auto Off Topic on Instagram, Auto Off Topic on Twitter. There is our Scale Diecast coming soon podcast, we promise. That's on Instagram right now, Scale Autocast. And I am Race and Anger on Instagram and Twitter. And you can message us about the Discord server. We had a couple new people join this week, so that's fun. We all have all kinds of little chat rooms there for, I guess you'd call it a chat room, maybe.
Sure.
Showing my age. Discord server. We have different Discord servers then about we have one for project cars and like cars spotted in the wild, stuff like that. So
one for scale
fun,
cars.
a bunch of like-minded people. Yeah, there's one for scale cars. So yeah, as always, guys, thanks for coming on, and keep your cars analog and aim for the roses.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks.